Hello everyone, welcome to Chessmaster Strategy. Following last 1956 Lev Polugaevsky and Mikhail Tal's video, I will share you another game played by the 8th World Chess Champion Mikhail Tal and the Danish Chess International Master Clausen in 1966. After the first 14 moves, the position was exactly the same as the 1956 one, but this time Mikhail Tal played as white. There are some key points I would like to highlight here. First, how and when white takes control of open files E and C with his rook on the 27th move, rook E1, and the 29th move, rook C1. Second, Mikhail Tal's pawn advance from the 21st H4 to 23rd H5 to 30th H6 on the king side, and the 42nd move, a4 on the queen side. Third, when Mikhail Tal has three pieces, queen, knight, and bishop, against Clausen's three pieces, queen, rook, and bishop, fighting for d5 square. White briefly made the 33 move, knight took the d5 pawn, and gained the advantage. This shows how accurate judgment Mikhail Tal made during the game. Finally, on the 36th move, queen c6 instead of queen b7, Mikhail Tal accurately controlled the critical c1 square to prevent Clausen from moving his black queen to c1, which could lead a potential draw. This reminds us the similar situation in our previous video between Mikhail Tal and Robert White in the 1966 game. Now, let's start the game. Knight f3, knight f6, c4, c5, knight c3, knight c6, e3, e6, d4, d5 on fifth moves as Tarrasch defense symmetrical variation. Now bishop plays d3. This is better or little better off than e2. E2 you can play e2, but e2 is a little bit passive, and I would say d3 is much better, more aggressive move with a potential support from the queen to c2. You probably can control this diagonal from b to h later. So now on this move, exactly same situation and position as last 1956 game. White is trying to control the d file, and black is trying to fight for the c file. On 15th move, before black made his decision, looks very familiar. That's correct, because this is exactly same position as the last 1956 game. In that game, remember, Mikhail Tal played in different color, black. And in the next step, in the next move, Mikhail Tal in that game played 10 years ago, he moved the knight to g4, very aggressive move. And in this game, Clausen made knight d5. Mikhail Tal later asked Clausen after the game, why didn't you play this more aggressive move, g4? And Clausen said, well, because I don't want g3. Actually, Mikhail Tal said, I won't play g3 because I don't want this square open, the g2 square, because I don't want you to control this diagonal from b to h. Okay, let's assume if both players play this variation, and what's going to happen? Knight still can go to b5, and bishop can still go to a6. Queen takes the e6. Bishop can take the knight. That looks very familiar, right? Similar situation in the last 1956 game. Queen now can take this pawn check. Queen can move back, threatening the knight and bishop at the same time. Knight can take the pawn, king can take the knight back. Okay. In this variation, we can see both sides play very tight and equalized. That's one of the major variations. And let's get back to the original game. In the original game, knight played as d5. In this variation, I don't recommend you to play knight b5. Queen can simply move to b8. And in this variation, bishop cannot control the c6 square in the combination with the queen because of this knight. The better move for white is to take this knight simply. And pawn can take that one back, queen moves to d3 with a potential support bishop moving to b1. White could control this diagonal from b to h. In response, queen played d6, trying to move to the king side. Bishop takes the bishop, knight takes that one back, and aiming for the g6 square. Rook moves to e1, knight moves to g6, protecting the pawn structure while targeting f4 and h4 square. In response, d3 is played, trying to fight these two squares, f and h4. Queen moves to f6, pawn advance. This is the first time Mikhail Tal made his h-pawn advance. Rook moves to e8, take that one, take the rook back. Pawn advance again, try to kick the knight away. Knight moves to f8, still targeting and protecting the h7 square. Knight moves to a wonderful place, e5, trying to block the rook from controlling this e file. Queen moves to g5, targeting the h pawn. Queen moves to a beautiful spot, f3, protecting the pawn, targeting f pawn and d pawn at the same time. In this situation, f6 is played, trying to kick the knight off. You can pause your video, think about it. What are you going to do if you play as white? In the natural reaction, we could play this move. Bishop takes d5 pawn, bishop take down bishop, and queen take down back check. Rook can move to e6. Okay, in this variation, your knight is pinned, so you can't move your knight, otherwise you're gonna lose your queen. So queen can move to d8 to pin this pawn, so pawn can no longer take the knight because of this pin. But in this variation, black can simply take the h pawn. If we play this variation, both sides will be back to very equalized position. And in the actual game, Mikhail Tal played an amazing move, which is knight c4, targeting d6 square. If knight takes this square, knight will have a potential force on b7 and e8. If you take that one, that's gonna be a mistake. I'll do a check and take you bishop for free. Okay, so in this situation, rook d8 is played, trying to protect d6 square, very critical one. White wasted no time very beautifully to move the rook from a1 to e1, trying to control this open file, e file. Bishop also wasted no time to make adjustment of his bad position, moving to c8. If you get back to one step backward, you can see this bishop has been blocked by its own pawn. So it's a good timing because white has one queen targeting the pawn, black has two pieces protecting the pawn. So this is good timing for the black to move the bishop, adjusting the position for the bishop. Knight moves to e3, and bishop in response moves to e6, protecting the pawn. Now 1, 2, 3 versus 1, 2, 3, targeting the d5 critical square. Rook also wasted no time moving back to c1. Why? Because this bishop staying in e6 with support by the f8 knight. That means this file will no longer be opened for the rook. So rook simply moved to c1 and targeting the 7th. Okay. Bishop moves to f7, trying to challenge the h5 pawn. What are you gonna do? Pawn make another advance, trying to challenge the pawn structure. So if you take that one, well, your structure will be damaged, and this file will be open. And if you move your pawn to here, your pawn structure okay, but the bishop will be blocked again. And even worse, compared to one bishop was in b7 square. And in the actual game, queen h6 is played. Now rook goes to the 7th. Queen gets back to the g5, protecting the pawn, and the rook takes the a7 pawn back. Now knight moves to g6. Mikhail Tal later said the better move for the black could be h5, and in response he would play king h2. He mentioned that if black played this variation, both sides will be back to very equalized and tight position. And in the actual game, knight g6 played. Now think about it. If you playing as white, what are you gonna do for the next step? Let's do a simple math. On the d5 square, black has 1, 2, and 3. And white has 1, 2, and 3. 3 versus 3, typical, very typical position. In this typical position, normally we don't think we're gonna take the pawn because otherwise white gonna lose at least one minor piece, right? But in this situation, remember you have a powerful rook on the 7th. So Mikhail Tal utilized this advantage for the rook on the 7th. He made a beautiful and brief move, which is knight took the d5 pawn. And bishop take that one, rook moves to 8th. In this variation, if black takes the rook back, if black takes the rook, bishop can simply take the bishop, and I can take the rook back. Okay, white is now in pawn majority, and with one bishop versus one knight position, much better. And on the other hand, if bishop takes the bishop, which is the actual game played, rook can take that one check, king moves to f7. You still in pawn majority with one rook against one bishop and knight. Also better for the white side. But don't simply make this mistake by using the bishop to take the other one. That's going to be a very bad mistake. Queen takes that one, and you're going to lose one bishop. That's typical 3 versus 3 position. So this shows how Mikhail Tal beautifully utilized this rook, a7 rook. Okay, in this situation, you need to think about it again. What are you going to do if you play as white? The natural reaction for most players is to moving the queen targeting b7 square with the immediate check. We like immediate check because that way we can win a tempo. Same as Mikhail Tal, in his initial calculation, he also considered this move, queen move to b7. Let's try this variation first. if I move my queen to 7, I got an immediate check. And knight moves to e7, and I can put rook to add some pressure. So in this situation, 2 versus 1, so you have to move your pawn. Now 2 versus 2, targeting this knight. Now I make pawn advance. King moves back to e8, pawn advance again. But in this variation, you're gonna think very, very carefully, because black has this powerful move, c1 square, check. And if you simply move your king to here, that's gonna be a very, very fatal mistake, because I can move my bishop to here. It's an absolute absolute pain. Even you move that one first, I can simply take a queen, winning position for the black side. And on the other hand, if I move my king to here, well, I can do continuously check, so which will lead a draw position. So in this variation, in this situation, white has to calculate very, very carefully and correctly. Otherwise, you could lose your advantage and ended up with a draw. So Mikhail Tal finally decided to put his queen to c6. Beautiful move. Very beautiful move. Targeting this square, this pawn, while controlling c1. Very critical square, preventing the black queen from moving to here. In the actual game, knight e7 is played. Queen immediately moved to e8. Remember, in this situation, very tight situation, if you can't control c1, the critical square, you have to make a check to win the tempo. Similar situation as we just mentioned in the beginning of the video is we played similar situation in the 1966 game between Mikhail Tal played as white and the English international master Ra8 played as black. Remember, in that game, in the last couple of moves, Mikhail Tal made a continuous check. Otherwise, black would lead a draw. Okay, very similar situation, but not similar position. Okay, I can make a check. King moves to e6. Rook moves to c8. Very beautiful move. Targeting this open file. Protecting c1 square, also aiming for this critical square, c6. If I make this move, targeting this pawn, check, and this knight is pinned. Very, very powerful. What are you going to do if you play as black? Well, you probably think, if I move my bishop to here, while I still can control this c1 square. Okay, let's see the variation. Instead of moving the rook back to here, I can change my original plan, moving to here. Okay, in response, you have to make an advance of your pawn. 2 versus 2 piece of this knight. But I can make this powerful check. You moving your king back to f7, I simply take this bishop for free, winning position for white. And in this position, black played in the actual game queen d5. Okay, and now look at carefully about this cycle. Rook gonna make some dancing in here. Now rook played c3. If queen played this one, white gonna make a check. If you move your king to here, another check. And I can simply take the knight for free. All right, winning position for the white side. So in this situation, queen played b7, trying to make an exchange. And rook played e3, make the check. King moves to d6, check again, targeting the b6 pawn. King moves to c6, trying to protect the b6 pawn. Now Mikhail Tal made an amazing move, which is pawn a4 on the queen side, trying to targeting this and this square, limiting the space for the black king. In response, black played knight d5. Actually, this move make no difference because I can simply move my rook to e1. Queen still wants to make the exchange, and I can make another check. King moves to d7. Now, this is the final move, which is the final check for the game. After this check, black resigned. Okay, that's the game for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.